Welcome back to the Sneaker Squeaks podcast. It's Thursday, May 30th. This is episode 105. Don Harris back and better than ever after vacation. Don, how are you?
I'm great. Episode 105 and the first episode in a suit.
Yeah, I know. Usually you're bundled up in like a sweater or like one of those half zips and stuff. Meanwhile, I'm still in a t-shirt, even though we're not.
I had to MC a breakfast for the great George Gervin today, so I had to put my best on for the Iceman.
Well, you got to do the best for the Iceman.
Yeah.
So, we got a lot to get into today. We're going to get into every aspect of the Cowboys offseason, the inactivity from the Cowboys as well, and why they aren't giving out some big contracts to their superstars. If Dak Prescott's the guy to bring the Cowboys to the promised land, I know Don's opinion on that one. Plus a little bit of around the NFL action with our very special guest, who I will get to right now. He worked at ESPN for more than 20 years. I think it was closer to 25. He best known for his work on the NFL Draft, which I have the chimes, and NFL Live, Sportscenter, Golic and Wingo. He now does a lot of different things in the media landscape, working as a contributor for the 33rd team and the podcast host for the Alternate Routes podcast with Kevin Frazier, the one and only Trey Wingo joins us now on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Trey, how are you?
Golf clap. You, Trey, are a legend, and I have some things to discuss with you, my friend, because I think we talked about this on Twitter back and forth. You're a Baylor Bear. I had three brothers and sisters go to Baylor. I did not. I went to the University of North Texas because they had a sports broadcasting program of all things, and here you are, Mr. Famous ESPN from Baylor, who didn't, but you get a degree in communications. Anyway, I don't want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about something much more important. Leslie's Chicken Shack. We're old enough to remember it.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
So he's cheating.
I think that's a violation of wasting what could be the greatest rolls in the history of chicken places, because it wasn't really a biscuit. It was more of a undercooked roll that was just delicious with the honey and everything. Yeah. Jeez.
Sounds like he and I would get along great. I can eat just like that. I can't do that anymore. I will gain a lot of pounds. So
the big O at George's is probably the most famous thing in Waco. But I'm telling you that for those of us who remember the Chicken Shack, God rest its soul. By the way, I saw on the internet that sign is in a junkyard in Houston, outside of Houston, and is for sale if you wanted to.
Well, Trey, every podcast we start by what the number of the podcast reminds you of when it comes to sports. So this is 105. We'll do number 5. When you think of number 5, whether that's in a player, a year in 05, or whatever the case may be, when you think of the number 5 in sports, what do you think of? Or who do you think of? I think he was. I thought you were going to say Donovan McNabb.
DiMaggio, right?
DiMaggio is probably the most famous 5. I'll tell you guys the first person I thought of when I was just kind of going through the rundown last night in my head is I thought of Bill Walton because he was number 5 for the Celtics. Obviously, we lost him a little earlier this week, so it might have just been that he was top of mind. Yeah, far too early. I mean, obviously, we all. Do you have a good Bill Walton story before we get started on all the football? I know you worked with him for a long time at ESPN, so. Yeah. Bill Walton was great. I told the story on Monday. Going to ASU, he did a lot of Pac-12 games, and so a lot of us ASU Cronkite students got to know Bill Walton very well. He never had, especially our comms director, Doug Tamaro, knows Bill Walton very well, and they were very good friends. And it's just far too soon to lose somebody who is just such a light in life like he is. So, but yeah, that was the first person I thought of. There's also, Johnny Bench, Albert Pujols that we could probably think of for number 5. I do want to ask you to reveal your party trick, though. 2005 Super Bowl 39. Who played and who was the Super Bowl champ? Right. Yeah. 39, the one that was took place in 2005. You remember who hit who? He's amazing. He's an encyclopedia of Super Bowl knowledge.
Trey, definitely 3 minutes to Wapner, slow in the driveway. Kmart sucks.
You remember who played the halftime show in that Super Bowl 39 in the Eagles and Patriots? Actually, that 39, I believe, was Paul McCartney. I think 38, I think, was Timberlake. Sorry, I know I could quiz you on all 56, but yeah.
that
2005 also a great year for the San Antonio Spurs as they won their third championship, in 7 years, 4-3 over the Detroit Pistons.
That's right.
You remember that one very well, I'm sure.
Very well here in San Antonio. Game 7.
Where do you think that was? That ranks upon the 5 that they won?
That's one of my favorites because the arena has never been since or before that electric before a game. It was Game 7, and everybody was in their seats an hour before the game, and the place was just going nuts. I'll never forget the energy in the building that night. The first one's the most special to me, but that one was really good energy.
Also, since we have Trey on, I got to mention that the Baylor Lady Bears won the championship in 2005. It was Kim Mulkey's first one. She also became the first woman in NCAA history of NCAA basketball history to win as a player and as a coach.
Was that Sophia Young, the great Sophia Young? Oh, interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Last thing about 2005, I know you're a huge golfer and you are a big Tiger Woods savant. As people may not. That was the year he beat Rob DeMarco in the Masters, wasn't it? 2005. He won. Chris. Thank you, Chris. Sorry. Yes. Yep. Humble brag. Greatest Nike commercial, that's for sure.
Didn't he hit like a 6-iron out of the trap to beat Bob May uphill 18? Wow.
This is why Trey is who he is, because just an encyclopedia.
I gotta tell Trey my Tiger.
We gotta get to actual stuff here. Okay. Hold on, if there's time at the end. So let's get to the Cowboys. So the Cowboys, there's a lot of talk, obviously, about them. There always is. There always has been. Trey, you grew up a Cowboys fan. Maybe you watched your fan a little bit throughout the life because, as somebody in this industry, you kind of lose your fandom sometimes. Don't you also have connections to San Antonio, right? Your dad used to live here.
All right.
He's the grad of Church Ohio over here.
Class of '83.
But I just wanted to
do the commander.
So obviously big Texas connections for you. When you look at the Cowboys offseason or lack thereof right now, what are your top takeaways that they have done or have not done this year so far?
this is what they should do. They should have paid Dak $1 million. Look, whether or not you think he would be the guy, because there is no one else, and he's your best option. And now he is a barrel in terms of what you can demand. And they kept Michael Carter. And Jerry says, I come from Jerry. We've run out all of those. Yeah, we're about to be Super 59 in the last Super 30. We're talking almost 3 decades. Everything they've done has been back. I don't see how you can keep Michael Carter when you had a team that had the second longest winning streak in all of the history of the Cowboys franchise. You had the team that scored the most points and had the most yards and had the best turnover. And somehow the Packers scored their fourth longest first season as a starter, and that's slowly. You had everything going. You had it all set up. Most of the NFC Championship. And you couldn't even get out of the divisional round. If 12 wins in the regular season is what you're going for, then keep Michael Carter. But Jerry Jones has said time and time again, it's not about every action he's taken this offseason. From the starting from absolutely nothing. Basically, the offseason, watching the NFL team, the applicant that's with him, watching the Commanders, has been the exact opposite. That season. Cowboys are
Brought up a lot of interesting things. One of them is it seems like Jerry says one thing and then does the complete opposite. He says he wants to win, but there's no actions to prove that he actually wants to win right now, especially with not getting ahead of these contracts. And then you have Dak who's saying, I don't play for money. And that's a load of crap because he obviously does play for money or he would have signed another contract a little while ago. So it's the kind of saying one thing and not saying another thing or not doing something that doesn't really make much sense.
every player together. So I'm never going to go out there. The Cowboys probably start.
Yeah.
Their salary cap started. They made the decision to pay the running back over the quarterback. And the reason that Murray Cooper was no longer down is because the contract they chose to give a power back his career came back off his dollar after a fairly pedestrian season. So the Cowboys have a first pitch difference. They made the decision to pay the run when no one and every decision that they've had to make financially since then has basically been because they made a mistake. That's why Murray Cooper had to go. That's why Dak Prescott had to go for Barrel. Some of the contracts that they gave made sense. Now, having these guys got money, but looking at it realistic, you're paying interior linemen and running backs. That makes no sense.
What about the sinister theory that I've read that the Cowboys are the Joneses' third to fifth biggest revenue generating business outside of oil and gas and all this other stuff that they have because of the brand and because of the TV contracts? Whether they go 7-9 or 12-6, they're going to make pretty much the same amount of money, and that Jerry is just blowing smoke all the time with "we're all in" or "this year we found the secret sauce." And at the end of the day, he's measuring salaries and he's watching the bottom line to be as profitable as possible, and he's fooling us all to thinking that he wants to win.
I do think Jerry wants to. I think he knows his legacy as the Cowboys coach. He's running out of time. I do think he wants to, but there's no question the Cowboys will be terrible. And that's why he fought.
Right.
He understood what he was getting. So I think Jerry wants to. But Jerry is a great coach. And the only person that's firing Jerry
Never going to happen.
Trey, what do you make of them waiting so long while other players around the league are getting paid? You see Amon-Ra St. Brown. Even this morning, you see Jalen Waddle getting $86.75 million as the second best receiver on his team. You see Amon-Ra St. Brown. You see all of these lesser receivers. Noah Brown just across the state.
Nico Collins.
Nico Collins, not Noah Brown. Just across the state, getting all this money. Meanwhile, CD, Micah, Dak are sitting there needing contracts. What do you make of them waiting and almost kicking the can down the road on the contract deals?
So I look at this list, and obviously I think outliers. The most important thing Patrick Mahomes, first one, second straight Super Bowl. The receiver that led the highest wide receivers. I'm all for receivers getting the average get hard because of the organization. That's Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Will Hall, A.J. Brown, got there. They got Mahomes. St. Brown, Waddle, Saquon, Still, Monte Smith, Tom, Trigger, Metcalf, Slick, anything, Nico Sanders, really good bunch of wide receivers. So I'm all for it. At the end of the day, I have a right back. Doesn't matter. Who is it better? Here, that's what it is. Who is it better? That's Jalen Waddle. Patrick Mahomes lost it.
Well, that adds to the question, though, who do you pay them? Because you can look at the list of defensive ends, and the top defensive end makers as well haven't won many Super Bowls. You look at the quarterback situation. When quarterbacks make over 20% of the cap, I think it's only 2 quarterbacks in NFL history have won a Super Bowl like that. So do you think that they just shouldn't pay CD, Dak, or Micah and start trying to reset? Or how should that kind of money be dispersed?
Outside of the game against the Bucs, there's no Brett Favre and again,
That's so weird.
Jack needs to prove in the crucible that he can be better. Look, you're going to pay $5 million. You're going to pay the receiver to catch the ball. You're going to pay the tackle on the offensive line to catch the ball. You're going to pay the guy in any presence trying to stop it. At some level, you get the quarterback to stop the quarterback with the ball to the receiver. But you can sort of mitigate by an edge rusher. I love, like, for example, Jerry's you're telling me if you're Kansas City in front of each of the general manager, do you want to pay edge president Rich Jones, or do you want to pay the Jerry Steve? You know what a good quarterback does? He eliminates one wide receiver. You know what a good edge president does? It eliminates all. Because Brock Purdy running for his life. Jennings was open for a potential touchdown in overtime. He couldn't get there because Chris Jones was in his place. I will always pay the edge. The edge and the pressure eliminates all the possibilities. In the divisional round, a couple of times Josh Allen just missed the line of wide receivers because Chris Jones didn't sack him, but he did enough to offset pressure is the most important stat. You get the quarterback to the ground, great. You get him off his mark, keep him back on the road, that's just as good as
Yet the Cowboys paid Trayvon Diggs and not Micah Parsons.
Well, they're going to pay Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons is that guy. But let me ask you this, Trey, because I see where you're at on Dak, right? You have to have a great quarterback. Dak's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. You're going to have to pay him. At the same time, you're going into year 9 of a guy that many people believe, like you talked about in the playoffs, he'll get you to 12 wins, but he's never going to make that play when everything is on the line. So how long do you stick with a guy like that, and how long do you keep, quote unquote, overpaying or re-signing a guy to make him the 3rd or 4th highest paid quarterback in the league if you do not believe that he's going to get you there?
It also doesn't help that he has him by the short hairs at the moment. So.
They have a Dak problem because they created and that's the issue that they have to recognize. He's got to by whatever they I think they both agree. Wait and see how this season played out. And I'm telling you, if Dak leaves, there will be 5 to 10. I'm not saying that he's going to make them any better than the Cowboys, but you don't have one behind you. Just look at Minnesota. 2 years ago, they were 13. Right? Then Kirk got hurt this year. He couldn't get out of the play. Now they're basically putting their fortunes in the hands of a quarterback in one of the more competitive divisions of football. The Lions have done what Jordan Love and the Packers have done. They had the youngest roster in football last year. Set a record for the most touchdowns. And Jordan Love's getting better. I don't think Caleb Williams is really a situation in Chicago.
Absolutely.
And walked into the fair situation with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is drafted by fair. Justin Fields had nobody. And he worked with the worst defense in the Chicago Bears. So Caleb Williams is walking into the situation and set up for success. Doesn't succeed, it's going to be Caleb Williams.
Let me ask you 2 quick things before we get you out of here. I told you 20, 25 minutes and it's already over, but you are a wealth of knowledge, my friend. So let me ask you about the Texans. I feel like everyone's anointing the Texans, crowning the Texans and CJ Stroud after such a year last year that was just kind of came out of the blue and out of nowhere with D'Amico Ryans and everybody. They are projected, or the over-under win total for them is 9.5, juice to the over. People are saying that they're the ones that are going to take out Kansas City as the big bad boys in the AFC right now because the Bills are down and so many things are going on. So how do you view the Texans, and are people being too soon or putting the cart before the horse when it comes to anointing somebody who can take out Kansas City? Because I don't think anyone's going to do that. Yeah.
On his final 3 drives, one was a one-play drive up the touchdown, one of the left. And then in the final drive, where he takes it down the field and suddenly his goal was pulls the snap back. She Rice was wide open for a touchdown. She was making a stand on the first drive of the Cowboys. And then Mark was not listening to the back. Second down. They're suddenly with the second. He should have been second too.
Right.
So we're talking about a run that might be unprecedented. And look, it's fun to put in somebody else's life. Somebody tired of it. I got news for you. He had the best team and the team I've ever seen first of all.
What you're saying, Trey, is he's almost as great as Tim Duncan.
Yeah, being respectfully, I think Kadarius Toney is Captain Butterfingers. And being married to a Chiefs fan, I'm really sad about everything that you just said. It's really depressing. Actually, being a Broncos fan, married to a Chiefs fan, it's the worst thing ever. So, Trey, before you go, do you want to? We did, but that was before I met my wife, and she has never experienced me happy in an NFL season. She's always it's just been me depressed. Do you want to tell us all about alternate routes with Kevin and what you guys are doing there?
And then President of the United States.
You guys did one about
Who went number 2 in the 79 draft behind Magic?
Didn't
Was
you?
it David Greenwood? Maybe David Greenwood?
You guys did one on if Tim Duncan would have been drafted by the Celtics, right? I thought.
It was David Greenwood, by the way, number 2 to Chicago. Bill Cartwright, number 3 to the Warriors. And
Right.
yeah, hey, I'll tell you this, Trey, and only because I'm a San Antonio homer. If Tim Duncan goes to the Celtics, if Tim Duncan has the career that he had in San Antonio, 15 All-NBA teams, 15 All-Defense teams, 5 championships, 2 MVPs, 3 Finals MVPs. If he has that career in Boston or New York, he's probably being mentioned with Kareem, Magic, and LeBron in the top 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. If he doesn't win, the Celtics, and they need the Celtics are still winning their best player. Just be honest. Coach Leonard, they had some guys that were there. That was the Tim Duncan would be the guy that wanted to go to the next game.
Trey, you are the absolute best. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again pretty soon. Always good to talk to you as well. Hit him straight. I know you're going to play some golf here soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, Trey.
See you later. Thanks, Trey. He's the best.
Yeah.
He's the
That's a
absolute
wealth
best.
of knowledge.
He's literally just an encyclopedia. We kept on getting off on tangents, which I love just because he is so great. But I just love asking him about Super Bowls because he knows everything about every Super Bowl ever. And he is just an encyclopedia of knowledge. So
that's fantastic. That's a tough you have to work at that some, you know? I mean, like I can do the first 14 and I can do the Heisman Trophy winners and all that kind of stuff. Some of it's just in your brain, but when you go into details, that many details about a certain game or a certain year, you actually study.
yeah, no, I mean, and he, like I said, he was
film.
on NFL Live and at ESPN for 25 years. He knows
Yeah.
he did the draft for so long, which is why I played the chimes. When I think of the NFL draft, I think of Mel Kiper Jr. and I think of Trey Wingo because he did it for so long.
Can't
So
get
it's
Mel
just,
Kiper Jr.'s hair out of my mind.
yeah, and his pumpkin pie. We actually have a new camera now, and you'll be able to see who's talking. Chris Hoffman over here filling in for Bob Gambert. Chris,
Hey, look at that.
what's going on, dude? You got some stuff from the
I
viewers?
do. I've got a question here. Johnny Garcia, and I'm going to paraphrase because he wrote a lot, but he said, and he realizes Jerry will never let it happen, but if the stars were to align and Kansas City comes to San Antonio,
No,
you
let's
have
stop.
Mahomes and Wemby. Would that make it America's number one
I
sports city?
do not entertain any such thoughts because the Chiefs coming to San Antonio, I don't know where it started other than some idiot reporter's question to Henry Cisneros at some press conference that created this ridiculous dream.
To the reporter's
fantasy.
credit, it's one of the most prestigious investigative reporters in Kansas City,
Okay.
according to Jordan.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Any owner in NFL history that wants to create his own leverage can just look in the history books and say, oh, San Antonio's got a dome. Let's just say we're going to go there. They have no – if we wanted the Chiefs, we would have to build a $2 billion new football stadium and have it completed before they even thought of coming here. And the taxpayers of San Antonio are never going to fund that. The Chiefs are, first of all, they're a winner, and they're an institution in Kansas City. It's a stupid leverage brain fart that's going nowhere. So no, not in a million years would the Chiefs move to San Antonio. No.
One thing before we get out of here, I wanted to get your take on something that Stephen A. Smith said today. So Stephen
Great.
A. Smith, who I am not a fan of, I think that it's trash a lot of the times what he does on TV. But he is the best at blasphemous, high-volume takes.
Hyperbole.
Hyperbole is a good word for it as well. So he went off on Kawhi Leonard and us being here in San Antonio and knowing your feelings about
God
Kawhi
bless
Leonard.
him.
I want to hear your reaction to what he said on First Take this morning.
All right, let's listen to it.
Don?
I'm with him. I don't think I said that 7 years ago. I don't think Kawhi should be on the Olympic team. because he won't be available. He'll go to practice and he'll play great in practice and he'll play great in the exhibition game. And then his knee will get sore and he will miss the gold medal game. And when they need him the most, he's just not dependable for anyone ever and hasn't been, and quit on Tony and Manu. And I'll never forgive him for that. Neither will they. They won't say it publicly, but they won't. He's not available, and it's because he has a diseased tendon in his quadricep, reportedly, allegedly, and that's what Spurs doctors found years ago. And it's never going to get better fully. He's going to have moments where he plays great, and he has. He won championship in Toronto, but he's never going to be fully healthy. And as far as the other stuff goes, I don't know how to say it, but he's not mentally, intellectually, personality capable of being the guy that they want him to be the face of a franchise, to be outgoing, to be a marketer, to be all those things. He's not capable of it because of who he is from personality standpoint.
I think it's a bad look that he's going to go play in the Olympics, even though he sat out basically the entire postseason for the Clippers and they ended up losing. It's a bad look for him. He's not one that likes to be liked, apparently, because I think there's a lot of people that feel the exact same way Stephen A does, same way that you do as well, Don. So
I gave him the benefit of the doubt for a long time. I just think he's a bad guy.
All right, so we went a little long today, but Trey is too good to cut off at any point, and I wouldn't even want to, even if we had to.
Johnny, I didn't mean to be dismissive of you, my friend. I appreciate you listening and watching, and it's. I just think you've been misled. There's Kansas City.
Well, we did. Chuck and I did a podcast on that a few weeks ago, and I think we also think it's a joke. Not a joke, but it's a very unlikely possibility. There's so many things that would need to happen in order for that to happen. Them going to Dallas is a much more likely scenario, even though that's an unlikely scenario as well.
Who going to
the Chiefs? The Chiefs.
What?
It's never going to happen.
Like 2 teams in Dallas?
Correct.
Oh God.
But they were originally from Dallas. Anyway, that's all we got for you today on the 105th Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Everybody,
staying in Kansas City.
Maybe. I mean, the Chiefs don't. The Kansas City doesn't seem to want them either. So
of course
they're not going to build them a stadium. Stop getting me off track. Thank you once again to Trey Wingo for joining the podcast.
You want to bet, by the way?
No, I don't.
You want to bet that they don't build them a stadium?
I will not bet you that.
I'll bet you lunch that Kansas City builds them a new stadium within the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to Zito's?
I'll buy you Zito's.
All right, deal. Shake on it?
Yeah.
All right, deal. So, wait, does the stadium have to be done in 5 years?
No.
Oh, they agree
it
to
be
it.
agreed
Okay,
to.
damn it. I thought I was going to have it. Anyway, thanks once again, Trey Wingo. Go check out Alternate Routes, one of the things that Trey is doing everywhere you can get your podcast in. I believe it's on YouTube as well. He's also doing a lot of stuff with, you've missed twice. He's also doing a lot of stuff with Chase Daniels with the 33rd team. You check that out. Check him out on Golf Channel. On the U.S. Open broadcast. Thank you so much to him. Remember, download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating on this podcast. Tell a friend, tell an enemy. We will be right back here on Monday with so much more on the Sneakers Cleats podcast. We'll see you then.
Peace.